winning, can't nobody hold it. Can't nobody. We winning, yeah. We winning, yeah. We winning, can't nobody hold me, yeah. Winning, we winning, yeah.
Now, according to reports out of NBC Los Angeles, 26-year-old producer D.J. Official was killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles on Friday, June the 14th. Now, NBC Los Angeles reported that D.J. Official was shot while outside his home alongside his grandfather, who was there at the shooting. His grandfather went on to say all he did was go to work and come home. He didn't belong to a gang or anything like that. Now, we did find out, because a lot of people didn't know exactly who this guy was just from his name, but he did work under DJ Mustard's, label. He also, worked with artists like Chris Brown, City Girls, Cardi B, YG. But the shocker that everybody's talking about is they're saying that he was in the studio with Nipsey Hussle on March the 31st. And as you know, that was about 2 days before Nipsey Hussle, was gunned down in Los Angeles himself. And they're also saying that one of his final Instagram posts was a dedication to Nipsey Hussle. Not saying that there's any connection between the two, but we thought that was kind of ironic, that both of them, within a short period of time, were both murdered in LA. Sam Ant, what are your thoughts on this one, man? Us reporting yet another drive-by shooting, another death of a real prominent young star in the game, man.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. It on all levels and all accounts. Like his grandfather said, and it just goes right back to your mortality. Just going out there chilling with your grandpa, minding your own business, not thinking of anything, and someone having the hate in their heart to want to end everything for you and your family for no reason. It's scary. It's scary as hell, but it is a reality. It's a reality in every city in this motherfucking world. It's a reality in Los Angeles. And unfortunately, we had to report the untimely death of our brother Nipsey Hussle. Shout out to Marathon Store. Oh, God got his shirts. You know what I'm saying? But it very eerie coincidence. I'll put it to that. Just the fact that obviously there's still questions looming amongst or around Nipsey Hussle's death. Yeah, a lot of people may have put it to rest, but I know some people haven't. People are awaiting the trial, seeing what the more so what the motive was, what the story is, what really happened in those minutes, in those waking seconds to you taking this man's life, or was it more premeditated than what we're assuming? We want to know, and this just raises questions even more. Now, whether or not, like you said, there's a correlation is very ignorant and early to say, but it's a very eerie coincidence.
Yeah, man, I think it's here's what I'll say. A lot of times, I hate to go down a cliche, which I'm not this time. I just wish that people, before they thought, and TK did a great job of breaking this down, thinking about the consequences before you do an action. I think this is huge, as opposed to, I was famous for this, just kind of, and I'm sure you were too at a point in your life, just doing some shit, and then, thinking about it later, like, yo, I should have never did this. Now, life, that's something that you can't get back. And what could he have done? Obviously, we don't know what was going on, but what could somebody have done in order to be, taken out like that? It could have been mistaken identity. Who knows? But another, I'm not even gonna say senseless, just a crazy, act on another young black brother. LA is wild though, Sam, man. What's going on with that, though? I know you lived over there, for a short amount of time, man. Is it really that dangerous in LA like it used to be? What's the deal with that?
That dangerous? You got to keep your eye out. It's like any other place, but the energy is very different. It's very different. It's a place where you hear people. That's the mecca of entertainment. If you want to go succeed, us out here in Jersey, where was the place you had to go? You had to go to LA. You had to go to either New York or Los Angeles. And even the little quick rides we took to New York, we realized, yeah, this is cool, but now we got to go out to the motherfucking palm trees. But then you hear the other side of LA, and you hear the other, and we've heard the other side throughout our whole lives. I remember the LA riots. I remember the Rodney King beating. I remember the O.J. Simpson, him driving down the freeway. I remember just all the news surrounding LA, the police riot, all that shit. And it makes you wonder. Now, when I drove out there, or when I lived out there for a brief time, I lived in some great areas. I lived in some real, real fucked up areas. areas where you had to watch it back and make sure you knew what you were doing. And it was different, definitely different. But you got people out there that are very loving and very caring, and that too, even in those terrible areas. So you don't want to sit there and pass judgment on those people. But like any other place you're around, just gotta watch your motherfucking surroundings.
Yeah, I think once again, man, we had a great interview with TK the other night, and he was just talking about, you can have tens of thousands of people who love you, and they show you gratitude, and some people damn near worship you, but you can have the one person who's sitting back in the cut, envious, jealous, and they could say, you know what, today I'm going to decide to take him out. We've seen the thing, with the Nipsey. People talk about his jealousy, his envy, this, that, the third. We can go down a list of people, have been killed from jealousy and envy. So there's nothing you can really do here. You got your grandparents, residents, family residents or something. You kind of just chilling, doing what you're doing, and somebody just comes past. I don't know, man, but once again, condolences to the family. Didn't know a lot about them, got to be honest.
Producers, man, that's the beautiful thing about them. Not to cut you off, man. They can make their magic and do their thing, and can still walk the streets. And if this was premeditated, they had to drop on him. They knew who he was. They knew his moves. They knew he'd be there, and they got their target.
Right.
Terrible as that is to say, but what does it say to you that it happened in his own neighborhood? It happened in his area. He wasn't somewhere else. He wasn't even. Out here on the streets, he was at home.
That's where people been getting hit the most. It seems like where they're from and they're home in the neighborhood. Where they their guard is down, and it's real. You in your neighborhood, no matter how much money you got, no matter what your status is, what your bank account says, you feel a certain level of comfortability because you came up there. But you could come through there 10 or 15 times, and just like in the Ville, and you can see the same people are going to see you, and they might see you in your nice car and your jewelry or whatever like that. And one day they could say, you know what, I'm gonna run down. It could be a bad day on the the strip or whatever, or in the family they lost this and that. I'm gonna run down on this dude, and anything can happen. So you just never know, man. But it looks like a lot of people have been getting hit right where they're most comfortable at their home, and it's sad.
It's wild, man. Condolences to his family, man, and prayers out. That's all you can say.
Yes, sir. But you're tuned into the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast with your brother, Oh God, and Sandman. We're going in today on this Monday, kicking off the week the right way. If you're enjoying the podcast on any outlet, please do us a favor. Go ahead and hit the 5-star rate and let us know how much you dig in the podcast right now. Now, Rick Ross, man, went on his IG, said, man, and he said that he's going to be opening up the floodgates, and he's going to be releasing the monumental work, Port of Miami 2. Now, we know Port of Miami 1 was a great body of work. You know what I mean? One of the albums that kind of defined Rick Ross, but it's been a minute and people been waiting for part 2. Are you excited about this, Sandman? Now, I know we did a segment on this on our podcast early on in the game, and we talked about Rick Ross being one of the most underrated rappers there is. Does that still stand, Sandman? And are you excited about Port of Miami?
Hell yeah, I'm excited about Port of Miami too. This is my introduction to Rick Ross, Port of Miami 1. When you think about Push It to the Limit, that was on there. Hustling was on there.
Yeah.
It was a number of records on that joint that really introduced us to Rick Ross. Now, we got to watch his evolution because he went from a particular style in Port of Miami and just grew and grew and grew and grew. So to see where he's about to come with this, every Rick Ross album, and we talked about this, whether or not he's underrated, because he gets a lot of slack, he gets a lot of criticism, a lot of trolling because of his past, because of him and his honesty about his past and shit like that. But when we talk about him as a rapper, him as a lyricist, I've never heard a bad Rick Ross album. I love them all. I can't wait for this one. We need some great rap album, great rap music in 2019. Start bringing those rappers in. I want to hear Kendrick fucking album come. Happy birthday, Kendrick. Today's his birthday, Gemini. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I'm real excited about this, man. Yeah,
Port of Miami, too. I mean, I can't say enough about this. Rick Ross is definitely one of my favorite, rappers right now. You can always, like you said, you can go down this whole catalog, and I'll say my favorite album is Deeper Than Rap. That just brings me so many memories, you know what I mean, of my grind back. I think this came out 2009 or 2010, around that time.
Yeah.
But man, that album right there is a classic, instant classic. And looking forward to this, man. I think, people are starved a little bit for Rick Ross. He had his album a couple years ago, you know what I mean, which was a great body of work. But, we want to see something, go back to the old, you know, a little bit. So I can't wait. Almost like a blueprint of a Jay-Z or something like that. The Port of Miami joints.
He titled it Port of Miami too. So hopefully he'll give us some of that. I want to hear those old samples. That win my money. I need that, man. I think he's gonna give it to us.
Kind of like when you think about it. Remember when we was younger, Rick Ross. He kind of introduced us to the Miami, kind of like the street culture a little bit through his music, because you know you had Trick Daddy and whatnot, but we didn't really resonate with him like that. And then we had New Orleans and the Hot Boys. That was New Orleans, but like as far as like Florida and Miami, Rick Ross kind of, you know, through his music takes you in to that world, and I love that.
Because we identify with his flow. Point blank, period.
Facts.
We identified with his flow early on, so we got to listen to what he was saying more and more and more. Excuse me. And I mean, us having East Coast ears and being biased and just being East Coast niggas, sometimes we don't understand the South as fast as them brothers and sisters down there in the South understand themselves. Rick Ross bridged that gap, and he has to have and given credit for that for sure.
Yeah, and then another thing, man, you know, another person on Jay-Z's tree.
Oh yeah,
another person that Jay-Z brought in. You got to look, you know, Rihanna, him, I think Neo.